Warning, every second is automatically saved. All actions and decisions are permanent. Extreme care and patience is advised. Those, my friend, are two things that I do not have. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something called the Liquidators, I believe this is called. It has nothing to do with business, and is something to do with Chernobyl. So let me have a quick look at these instructions. Walk, run, flashlight, interact. What? This game isn't 2D, is it? I'm pretty convinced this game isn't 2D. Oh gosh, this looks monstrously complicated, and I can't take my mouse off the in-game screen. That's an oddity. Proximity detection, direct air detection, atmosphere radiation, maximum health. I feel like I'm going to figure this out in the game, or more likely or not figure any of this out and die a horrific death. So let's completely ignore all of that and read the mission information. What? Oh gosh, this is going to be so much information. I tell you what, let's have a jump car while I read through this and decide if any of it is worth repeating.
There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this. One of the atomic reactors at the Chernobyl atomic power plant near the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died. The Soviets may have been fairly quick to acknowledge the accident because evidence, in the form of mild nuclear radiation, had already reached beyond the Soviet borders to Scandinavia.
Yes, the Soviet...
Connected and working. To summarize, you've been chosen because of your expertise in locating valve systems, and reaching those water tanks are our last hope in containing this disaster. If you don't drain those water tanks, a steam explosion will create a radioactive fallout that will render Europe uninhabitable. It is a perilous journey to those valves, and if anything happens to you, we will guarantee your families are taken care of in your stead. Your country and I thank you for your selfless service. It's up to you three now.
Yeah, the Soviets actually acknowledged that Chernobyl happened. Yes, they did, because it's quite difficult to, you know, lie about a massive, massive bang going off. Right, main objective. Find the correct valves to drain the water tanks. There should be a total of 6 valves, 4 on the main floor, 2 on the bottom floor within the water tank room. The bottom floor is sealed from heavy pressure until the 4 valves in the main room have been turned on. Right, so you need to do the 4 on the top and then the 2 on the bottom. Okay, that's fine. So we have our 3 people who have been selected for their expertise in finding valves, because that's something that everyone is really skilled at. Ability, electrician, endurance, and crawl. Okay, so I get to pick the kind of person that I want. I'm going to pick this guy because he doesn't look like a serial killer. Having been a military veteran, he has more endurance and volatility than any other person. Attention. One contaminated liquidator at a time. No, one committed liquidator at a time to lower risk and maximize efficiency. I still don't know what you're talking about. This seems really, really complicated. And really, really overly complicated for what I thought was going to be a much simpler game. But then possibly it is. So, yeah, I think basically we're being sent in to sort of shut down the... I already do not remember the interact button. I'm going to hope that it's one of the ones I'm pressing. So yes, I think we are a group of people who can crouch, but not crouch down quite far enough to get into this vent. I think we're a group of people that are sent in to sort out the Chernobyl problem, shut down the reactor so that it doesn't get any worse. So can I look at the instructions again? Ah, yes, okay, so I can come back to the instructions and read more of them if I so desire to do so. Right, yes, right, okay, never mind that. Okay, so is this the first valve that I need to turn on? Hooray! Everything went green, and now presumably we are slightly less likely to die? That sounds good. The environment is nicely detailed, and sort of realistically detailed, which is a lot more than you'd expect in normal circumstances. So that must be the lower floor, which is not what I'm trying to get to, because I need to do the 4 on the upper floor first. Which presumably is what this indicates, because there's 4 lights, 3 of which are red. So each valve that I turn on will make one of those lights green, and then I can use that to go down, and not the staircase, obviously, but alright then.
Boys, we know you lost your family, and we cannot imagine what you've gone through since. But we are here, and we
Okay, I don't know if you could pick that up. I think it was a radio transmission saying basically that things ain't very good. But we are here to look after you. Did I do something good or something bad? I don't know. I think the place is filling with water, and I don't know if that's good. Surely if the... Oh, I'm going for a swim. Except I don't seem to be able to swim up, which means I'm going to drown in here. I think the water level's going up. I think I may have made an absolutely horrible mistake doing that. I think I need to turn this off again. Can I turn this off again? Clicking on it doesn't seem to be doing anything. And I've shut the door behind myself. And now the water's seeping in, I think. Or is the water not coming up any further? Okay, so when you said every decision is permanent, do you mean that I have just managed to get this guy killed? And there's no way I can now save him? This game could end up being a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. I think I've drowned. We lost contact with Boris. Yes, he's dead. Deployed ex-volunteer. Oh my god. So this is not one of those games where you just... unconscious. That, my friend, is optimistic. Right, let's go for this guy because he looks slightly less serial killery than otherwise. Precise knowledge of electronics and fuse boxes of the location. Resetting the fuse boxes can solve some electronics that could be beneficial.
We lost contact. As much as I regret it, High Command recommends not going after him. But as your superior, I allow you to do so if you have the opportunity. You might be able to treat him at the hub area if you drag him there. The choice is up to you.
Okay, this game is a bit more in depth than I thought it was going to be. So can I save Boris? Boris, where are you? Boris! I've come to save Boris. Hello. Can I rescue you? I've picked him up and put him over my shoulder. Okay. This game was a lot more in depth than I was expecting. Which I'm glad about, because, you know, it does get very dull when it's just walk through an environment, click on anything that can be clicked on, and sort of, you know, that's it. It's nice with a little bit more to it than that. Can I use like a med kit or something to make him better? Can I put him down? Or on like a medical cot or something? I think these are flashlights. Where can I take him in order to make him better? Oh, hang on, I think that's uranium. I probably shouldn't stand right next to that. Begs the question why there's uranium just sitting there, but never mind. Right, okay, can I take... If I take him back to the very beginning, can I, like, give him to someone else? This is not quite what I was expecting. Right, I've got to be able to do something here, right? Or am I just supposed to carry Boris on my shoulder for, like, the rest of my life? Revive. Here we are. Reviving. Yes, here we go. Is he better now? He's revived. Okay, so maybe now he's safe for a while, or maybe like in a while I can bring him back. I don't know. This game is clearly built by somebody who expected the player to think, not just to wander into random rooms and start hitting buttons in the vain hope of making things better. It's a very good thing I'm not an engineer, isn't it? Okay. Now, what's this? And should I click on it? Probably not, but it doesn't seem like I can interact with this knob. And as such, one knob shall leave the other one alone. Okay. So am I supposed to like navigate via these sort of slightly raised areas, perhaps? So that I don't stay in the water for too long and I don't drown? Yeah, that seems sort of vaguely sensible. Yeah, over here. Yep, just high enough to like catch my breath, get a little bit of oxygen back in my lungs. Though you'd think if I was going into an area full of radiation, they would have given me something to like purify the air with or something. You know, an oxygen tank or something. Was I not supposed to come here until I'd opened this door? Because this door doesn't seem to be open. Oh gosh. Yep, don't think I can get through this door, certainly not yet anyway. I probably should have waited until that light had gone green before coming down here. Brilliant. I can see where they said the caution and patience is required, because it's clearly not the kind of game where you can just run straight through. You actually do need to think about things and work stuff out, which isn't going to go well for me. But let's go back upstairs and see what other pathways we have available to us, and see if we can find anything else that might go slightly better. Though, to be honest with you, I am just amazed that I even managed to rescue Boris in the first place. But it's probably just because I died right near the entrance, rather than like 50 miles away. But, yep. Okay, so there's lots of radiation here, which isn't good. But I'm going to need to do something. I think this is bad. Yep, I think all of this is bad. And it doesn't seem like I can interact with this, and I can't read what that says. Oh gosh. I don't think my health has gone down yet, which is good. But oh gosh. Oh, I had to open my big mouth, didn't I? That goes 14 points of health. Okay, so maybe I'm not supposed to do anything.
I know this may not be a good time, but your wife wanted to speak with you. She's on the radio now. Okay, I didn't want to distract you. I just wanted to hear everything one more time.
Okay, so there were some people talking, but the only problem is what? I'm dead. I'm dead even though I lost less than a quarter of my health. Ah, right. I don't think the number at the top is my health. I think the number at the top is like the level of radiation at which I conk out, and the number at the bottom, which is almost off the screen, is the amount of radiation I've taken. Okay, so I am slowly learning how this works, I think. I think you don't actually take radiation unless you walk into the radioactive goop. I think I can bring him back here, can't I? Revive, yeah, here we are. Revive him. There we go. I think I can also pick up a new light. Now, why can't I crouch? Because it says this guy is able to... Ah, I see. So those packets are useful for reducing the amount of radiation you've taken so far. Okay. So these things are radioactive goop, or whatever the sum it is. But you only take radiation when you actually step into it, which means if you navigate around it carefully, you don't get it. And that beeping noise is just trying to tell you how close you are to the radioactive gubbins. And if you don't take the if you don't walk into the radioactive gubbins, then you don't need to worry. You do need to worry about this accursed area which always seems to blow out your flashlight, which really, really annoys me. Yep, every time the flashlight goes in here. Brilliant. I do see another valve, though. I just need to actually reach it without stepping in any more of this radioactive uranium. Here we are. We've, yeah, very, very nearly died, but never mind, it doesn't matter. We've got the second valve running.
The pressure readings are leveling out. Both of them died from another meltdown. Find your way to the next range.
Is this a storage room or a torture chamber? What am I talking about? It's Soviet. It can be used for either. Right, moving swiftly on. Is this back to the beginning? Yes, it is. Okay, so I think that's just a shortcut to help me get back to here again. Okay, right, so I'm going to take this again. I don't particularly want to, because I'm probably going to lose this and it'll be the last flashlight I ever get, but never mind. Okay, so... is everything still... Is the door still red down here? Yeah, it is. This would seem like logically this would be the next place to go, but I can't actually figure out where in here I'm supposed to go because that door seems to be locked and I can't find a way to get it open again. Unless like one of these electrical boxes or something I can actually work with. I think what it might be, actually, is that when the cursor turns green you can interact with something, and when the cursor turns yellow you can't. but someone else can. So I think there's a possibility that if I don't know if I can, but I think I can change character. So if I swap myself out for on hold. Yeah, I don't... Okay, so I don't know if I can swap myself out then. I was hoping I'd be able to switch myself back away from the character who can crawl and instead to the character who can operate these electrical fuse boxes. Because he might be able to get one of those boxes down there working, which might open one of these doors. I.e. that one, to open that. But I don't think that I can change characters unless I die. Which I could die. I could on purposely drown myself. Knock myself unconscious, get the other guy and then come back. But I don't want to do that excessively. But if I could figure out how you get these people to crouch, because none of them seem to be able to do this, despite the fact that this guy is specifically described as being a crouching character. Oh, gosh. Right, let me go back to the computer and look at the control scheme. Because we need to have the control scheme on a computer that's right back at the beginning, not just like in the menu, but never mind. Alright, so I went back and I looked at the control scheme and it says if you press Z, you can crawl with this character. Right, here we are. Now, this might let me navigate my way around the door, or it might just leave me out right next to the door. Yes, it does. Right, so that was a shortcut, but that wasn't actually beneficial because it doesn't get me past this door. Brilliant, so that was a complete waste of my time. Okay, so I can't figure out any way of changing character or any way of further progressing, so I don't see an alternative other than to purposefully drown myself so that I can come back as the guy who is capable of interacting with the electrical boxes. So, give me a moment while I drown this hard-working, volunteering scientist, and we'll see if we can come back and get this electrical box working. Right, so I revived our crawling scientist friend and have brought back our mechanical scientist friend. Good, and my theory about the electrical boxes and me being able to interact with them is correct. My theory about that particular electrical box linking up with this door was absolutely, categorically and entirely wrong. Great. Which means I now have absolutely no idea how you get through this accursed door. Okay, I didn't realise this corridor was here. I don't know where this is going to lead. This is leading up, which at least isn't towards that locked door, so... Alright, let's see what we have here. Oh, okay, another light. That would be great if I didn't already have one, but never mind. This is a valve, but clearly not the valve. Alright. Oh, I see. So now this is going to open this, which lets me fall back down to the original side. So this is just another shortcut? There must be more to this area than that. It can't just be a shortcut. That would be ridiculous. Because, I mean, the shortcut's no shorter than the other area, with the exception of giving you that additional light. There must be more to this than that. And I am curious whether this game is operating on a system of you can get through this game in one life, using any of the characters, and it's just each character gives you a particular advantage, like a little more radiation resistance, the ability to turn on the lights, or the ability to go through the shortcuts with the crawling. So I don't know whether it's operating on a system like that, or it's going to be operating on a system of you do need to die a bit because you need to change your ability sometimes. But I suppose I'll just keep exploring and see what else I can find. Oh. Okay. So by wandering around randomly, I have managed to stumble upon the next vent. You really don't like me being here, do you? Yeah, there's something very freaky going on in here. There's no way I can... Oh, good. I'm already dead. Good, so now they've just decided arbitrarily to randomly change the radiation mechanics to a point where I can't actually figure out what I'm supposed to do. Good. So previously you needed to walk into the radioactive gunk, and now it's a matter of... Now, instead, it's a matter of there is a room full of radiation, and possibly you need to drain the radiation out of it first, perhaps? Perhaps that's what they want you to do? I have absolutely no idea. This game is really not very clear. It's very much about you wandering around and figuring things out on your own, rather than it being a sort of an intuitive understanding of how stuff works. Is there any way to climb? Because there really doesn't seem to be, which really annoys me. Because you seem to have these ladders which lead up to places, and yet you can't... Oh, you can go up them, you just go up them so slowly that you don't actually notice you're going up them. Brilliant. Right. So yeah, but perhaps I'm being a wuss, or perhaps this game could benefit from a little bit more instruction. Or perhaps there is instruction and I'm just too lazy to read it.
Your father's on the line. He was insistent on having a quick word with you. I wanted to say that I'm very proud of you. I'm honored to have you as my son. The state does not deserve you.
So it seems to be in constant communications from the outside, but they never seem to actually say anything of any importance. They're just like, oh yes, we're very proud of you, thank you for signing on for this mission, we're very sorry about this, if you die we'll look after your family. Rather than actually saying anything important or meaningful or giving me some useful information that might actually help me on my quest. So I am... Oh great, there goes that again. I am still monstrously confused about how this works. I'm guessing there's too much radiation here and we need to get the radiation out. But it seems like I cannot go into any part of this place. Possibly I can. Possibly I can go around maybe the very outskirts. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe if I like keep in the very outskirts and just run all the way round. This is where the guy with endurance is more useful, because he can survive in this area slightly longer. But then the guy with the crawling could go through there. Because, you know, crawling is a skill, isn't it? It's not just a thing which anybody can do, but never mind. And this is a dead end. Brilliant. And now I'm dead as well. Fantastic. And of course, dying in there means that person is gone forever, because if you died getting there, there's no way you're going to be able to get there and then get back using somebody else. Great, so we have one final chance to try and get through this. If we can slip through the same area that we did before... Hang on a minute. Oh, for crying out loud, that was the guy who could crawl. That wasn't the guy who was more enduring. Well, aren't I just a little smarty pants? Right. So, since this guy has full health and minimum amount of radiation intoxication so far, I'm going to see if I can save the crawling man again, and if I can save him, then I'll be able to drown myself, so I can then come back as the crawling man, and then go through the hole in the floor, in the wall. The wall is the word I'm looking for. Nope, he's gone as well. Brilliant. Okay, so, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Liquidators. So, for you it's only been 5 seconds. For me it's been about 5 days. because I got a little tiny bit cheesed off about this game. And I wish, if I may, to have a small discussion about a couple of things. Possibly that sounds ominous, but it really shouldn't. And while I'm having this little discussion that nobody is going to care about, because nobody could be that boring except for me, we're going to carry on getting back to where we were in this game, because I believe that I can get a little bit further in this game. And the point that I wish to raise is that indie games love, for justifiable reasons that I shall get to in a moment, indie games love to teach you by telling you. They love to give you large volumes of information in a written form that you... Oh, shut up, nobody cares. They love to give you lots of written information to read. I cannot think with all of this noise is going on. Whether it's control schemes, whether it's game mechanics, whether it's motivation for the characters, whether it's story, it doesn't matter. Smaller games love to give all that to you in a written form so that you can read it and then act on it. And there's two reasons why, in my personal opinion, that doesn't really work, as well as teaching the player by doing, by demonstrating the character's motivation, or by demonstrating the controls. Because you might say that having a little corridor at the beginning of every game, where there's a thing you need to crouch in order to go under, and a box you need to jump over, and or a small gap in the floor that you have to jump over, and a little area where you can sprint. You might say that that's a very cliche point, and you might wonder why under the sun do I actually think that that is a good thing to have in a game. I think that's a good thing to have in a game because then you learn by doing. And when you want to remember what the jump button is, or what the crouch button is, you actually have to say, here's the thing I need to crouch under. I've just been told what the crouch button is, it's control, so I'm now going to press control, which is going to make me crouch. Which then gives you a very visual memory, and a very physical memory, because you've actually pressed the button. Not just a, oh yes, I read the button was control, and then you end up not using the control button for like 20 minutes or something into the game, until you're finally then expected to crouch. Indie games, for very logical reasons, for the sake of, you know, development time and the amount of sort of physical real estate within the game, they often don't like having that kind of thing. They prefer just to tell you, especially when it comes to story, which isn't a problem per se. There's nothing inherently wrong with doing that. But I feel that it makes, A, it's harder to remember it all, and I do admit that my memory is not great. But further to that, what it also does is... Where is this curse? I was convinced this would be the correct way to go, but I'm now not so convinced, because I was convinced we would have found the valve by now. Because it gives you an awful lot in a very small space of time, because it needs to prepare you for the rest of the game, you then kind of get overloaded extremely easily with information, and there's a huge amount there that you need to remember. I'll assume this way. So this plan didn't go quite as well as I was hoping. And to give an example of this, and I don't know how many of you might relate to this example, but if you played Just Cause 3, which if you're not familiar with it, is basically a blow everything up simulator. If you played that, then you'll know that it has a very teach you by doing method of teaching you some not complicated mechanics, but possibly not the most simple mechanics in the history of the universe, versus Just Cause 4, which took instead the approach of making the mechanics a lot more complicated, which is good. A game should always develop in its sequel, absolutely it should. But they taught it all to you by telling you instead of teaching you by doing, which is what personally killed Just Cause 4 for me, because I couldn't really actually understand. Was there a third valve I was supposed to get first? Down here somewhere? I don't think there was, but allow me to quickly check. No, there definitely wasn't one there. So yeah, and I should also re-emphasize that I don't think the reason I'm talking about that problem with indie games in this game is not because this game is the worst example of it that I have seen. Absolutely not. There are many other games which have far worse perpetrators of this crime than this game. The only reason I'm bringing it up here is because this is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because this is the game in a long list of games that have this particular little problem. And this just happens to be the latest example of it, which coincidentally is the moment at which I have noticed it.
We know you lost your family, and we cannot imagine what you've gone through since.
Okay, so the valve is there. That's the valve there. Maybe if I try going this way, it'll go a little better? I don't know. Ah! Hi. I didn't realise this is where you'd ended up. Okay, so I'm beginning to think that this room is not purely a matter of go around the very outskirts. I'm beginning to think that's not the situation. I think, possibly, this room is like a big maze of lots of different varying corridors, and possibly there's a specific path you can go down if you go through the right doors, which doesn't have these mysterious pockets of radiation in them, which are the things that kill you. I think that possibly that is the sort of the reality of the situation. Let me get rid of, or rather, let me take this guy back to revive him, and then we'll come back and we'll have another try at getting through this room. Because I do like this game, yeah? This game corrects a lot of problems that other indie games have by actually making you think and making you work, rather than just having you walk down a corridor and press a load of different buttons as you go, as I mentioned previously. I just think that while that is a very good idea, what the game also needs to do is to balance that by being aware of the fact that by giving you a lot of information at once, they end up overloading the player and making it difficult for the player to remember anything. And I will absolutely 100% admit that I have not read 90% of the instructions for this game, right? And I'm going to I'll hold my hands up to that, and anybody that says that I'm finding this game difficult because I haven't read the instructions is probably almost undoubtedly correct, right? And I get that. But the thing is, I know if I read all those instructions, I'm going to get overwhelmed with it, and I'm probably not going to remember half of them, yeah? Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just a cretin, which is a very distinct possibility. But anyway, I promise to stop ranting, at least for about 5 minutes, about game design. Yeah, so I think the Geiger counter goes crazy for a moment, and then after you've stayed in that area for about a second or so, then the radiation starts to build up. So is this where I was coming into, or the place I was going out of before? This bundle. Ah! This gives me access to some medkits. Alright then, I'll definitely have one of those. Okay, so there's got to be a path. There's got to be a path that works. I just need to find it. I think what another problem is that there's a great big pile of radioactive goop in the middle of the room. And I think getting too close to that is what's setting off my Geiger counter. I feel like this is the thing I should be interacting with. I feel like if I could access that, I might be able to do something. Maybe? There's a ladder there. Ah, yes, the catwalks. Yes, perhaps the catwalks are the way to go with this. Just remember dying here previously with somebody else, and I really don't want to die again. Okay, good. So that theory was wrong. I can't interact with this. However, there is a ladder here. If I go up here, if I could not walk up the side of the ladder, but walk up the middle of the ladder, perhaps motor skills really are a privilege in the Soviet Union. Yeah, see? There is. There's this massive, massive pile of uranium right in the middle of the room. Right over there. And it's almost like when I'm in line of sight with it, that's when the problem happens. So there's the valve. The valve is right there. I just need to get down to the correct level. But there's no ladders here. There's a ladder here. Yes, and this doesn't seem like it's far away. Okay. Okay.
You're doing great, comrade. We're almost there. Keep doing what you're doing. You might make it out of this alive.
Still can't hear a word of what they're saying. Maybe it makes sense to you, but it don't make no sense to me. Okay, so I'd like to go this way if possible, because this way would bring me closer to that med kit, which would be great. I just don't know if there's going to be a ladder here that I can make use of. Maybe there's a shortcut out of here. Oh, this is that red door from this part of the corridor. Oh, alright, then that's fine. I'm perfectly happy to live with this. There should be another medkit over here in this corner, I think. Or is it the next one? No, this is where the flashlight is. Okay, so let me get the medkits down here somewhere. Okay, so shockingly, we are actually only halfway through the game, as it transpires, because that's actually only, I believe, the third valve that we need to turn off the 6. And what I also realised while I was editing the previous section of footage that you saw is that that room with all of the water in it, I believe that that room is actually the room that has the door in it, and that door is the one that opens when you've opened the first 4 valves. I thought that that door was going to be this door because... Ah, interesting. That's a curious development. I'll come back to that in a second. Yes, I thought this was the door that would open when you got the 4 valves completed, because this door has 4 lights on it, which go from red to green. But then there doesn't seem to be any way of opening the door which is down there, and it is on a lower level than anything else that we've done. So in my imagination it was the atmosphere getting a little more tense. Maybe it's just doing that because I've got more valves. Okay, so the development that I've noticed here is that the first valve was that one, the second valve was that one, and now we've done that one, which implies that I have missed a valve somewhere. So possibly somewhere back amongst the winding corridors there is another valve that I have missed. So let me go back and explore throughout this area again. Not going to go back into that weird radiation room, we're just going to go back into the rest of the place, and I'm just going to see if I've missed one somewhere. Okay, so I've searched around the entire area leading off from that door and the shortcut there. Yeah. I've searched all of that, which only leaves me with 2 possibilities in my brain. Either there was a valve down here that I forgot about, which it certainly doesn't seem like there is. Am I the electrician bloke again? I think I am, aren't I? I'll turn these lights on. There we are, that's better. So either there was another valve down here, which looking at the lighting, given that the valves seem to have great big lights on them, I can't see one. So I don't think the valve is in here. I think this is the final run, where you go after you've got your 4. So my only other potential idea is that... Actually, no, I don't want to go this way because this will blow my light out. My only other idea is that possibly there is a second valve in that room with all the weird radiation in it. And that the one that you see when you first go in is actually the second one you're supposed to trigger, because you're supposed to find another valve in there first, which is a little bit closer perhaps, a little bit easier to access. It's only a theory, but at the moment it's the only option I have because I've searched the rest of this building and there is no other valve here. This is the only room where it could possibly be. Oh, great. So I'm assuming it's somewhere in here. I just need to find it. There goes the electrician. So, I repeat my previous statement about the people saying that if I read the instructions I'd understand what's going on. I think I do. I think what this piece of information here is trying to tell me is that in this room, this is the final door, right? This is the door that opens the into the area with the last two ones. I think what this is that this is a generator which has been brought down. I think what the thing is that you have to turn this generator on and then move as quick as you can to get to that door, because that door is now open. So I think that is the problem. That was that's where I've gone wrong. And we're through the door. And we found the valve. Hooray. Good. I was on the brink of giving up.
Job, comrade. Amazing work. We have the final area left. You need to drain the tanks and that's it. You're doing it.
Still can't hear a word you're saying, fella. Oh, I see where this has brought me out. Okay, so hooray. We've gotten the 4 valves done. That's good. I was on the brink of giving up on this game again. But, no. So, unfortunately, my theory about there being 2 valves in the big radiation room has gotten our mechanical friend killed. Because I'm almost convinced there's no way I'm going to be able to get him back without dying. So I'm actually not going to bother remembering where the hell I came from. I'm not going to bother going back to try and get him. I'm going to try and complete the final room with just these 2 remaining peeps. The guy who can crawl and the guy with additional endurance. However, before we would go into there, I am going to read the rest of the information, the instructions, to try and give myself an edge. Yep, the door is open now. Alright, so let's have a read and see what we can find in here. Yeah, so my theory was correct. It's line of sight for that room. After you have activated all the drainage valves in area 1, 2 and 3, which is the ones we've just done, you can now access the final water cooling reservoir of the reactor. The area will be flooded, so find your way and be careful. Watch your step, this will be the final challenge. Okay, so this is possibly going to be another platforming exercise. Right. Okay, do I have a light? Yes, I do. Okay. So I'm in about the best possible shape that I could be in this moment. Oh, right. And possibly I really, really wish I was the mechanical bloke. And also reading that information again has proved my theory that it's not being near these things that matters, it's direct contact, because they've got some sort of a covering on them. They've been covered by some sort of other item. I'm also going to turn the volume up a little bit, which could be a horrible mistake on my part. But I'm going to try anyway, just in case there's any more of those radio transmissions. Okay. So I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're supposed to do. There's a lot of scaffolding, a lot of going up and up. More supplies to restock yourself with, that's great. So is the valve up at the top? I would have imagined the valve would be at the bottom, because they were talking about the area being flooded, and surely the water would be... I mean, the area above us can't be flooded if this area isn't. And this seems to be a dead end. So, yeah, I'm going to assume that it's going down rather than going up that we're supposed to be doing. Okay. We've managed to get to the end of the enormously long scaffolding, and I really look forward to the guy with lots of endurance having to drag this guy all the way back up there. So here's a big door, a vault for a bank. So I doubt we're going to find any cash in here. Can I open this? Yes. Where does this lead? This leads into a boatload of water. I really don't want to go in there, but I get the distinct impression that's the only option I have. Or do I have multiple choices of various different ways that I can go and only one of them is correct? There's the valve, well the first of the 2 valves we're looking for anyway. Again, I assume I could use the electrician guy to probably activate this. But, Sorry to emphasize this again. He dead. Okay, so I think I need to navigate my way along these pipes. Let's go steadily and carefully. Keep myself nicely in the centre and completely ignore the fact that I would undoubtedly have fallen off by this point because it's a rounded surface that's covered in water. Ah. Hooray. Okay, I don't know how I survived that, but I did. Now, this is going the wrong way. Oh, there's another valve down there. So that must mean that this valve reduces the height of the water, perhaps? Yep. So it's the slightly lighter coloured pipes that are the ones that fall. Okay. So we turn this. Will that reduce the water level? Yes. Good. Okay. Good, good. It is still going down. Yes. Some of the pipes have fallen. Okay. So now I need to perform much the same manoeuvre to get myself over there. But it doesn't look like the water's gone all the way down. So is there an additional valve? One of these, perhaps, that I can use to lower the water a little further? I could possibly make that, but I don't want to try it, because I'm not in a very safe position here to try again. But assuming there's nothing over here, which there isn't. Am I the crouching man, by the way? Yes, I am the crouching man. Okay. Okay, good. We managed that. So, I don't think I am supposed to reduce the water level. I think I'm just supposed to go down there, turn the valve and run back.
You did it! You crazy son of a bitch! You actually did it! Come out now! Come out now!
You want me to leave? You want me to leave this madhouse? For the first time in my life, you will get no argument from me. Okay, so, I'm very sorry to say, but the other guy is kind of dead, and I don't think he's going to be coming back. But, never mind him. Never mind him and his poor grieving family. At least, you know, there won't be millions of other grieving families all across Europe now thanks to the radiation. Also, I could be wrong, but this isn't how we dealt with Chernobyl. Didn't we deal with Chernobyl by just building a massive dome around it in order to contain all the radiation? Isn't that how we did it? Or am I going crazy? I don't know. So yeah, I think that would be another potential way of going, but never mind. But again, that area is a demonstration of one of the things that this game does well. It does develop the mechanics. Like, it starts with a simple radiation mechanic, and then it builds up to a more advanced radiation mechanic. Then it moves away from doing radiation mechanics into doing more platforming exercises, and the game evolves. It's not just an hour of doing the same thing over and over again. There is a degree of development and evolution in the game mechanics, which is something I like, something I approve of, and now I've completely lost where I am. Hang on a sec. Yeah, here we are. I think I need to go down this ladder. Or this staircase, rather. Yeah. And then right here. Avoid that. And we's home free. And we's is about done. Idiot. Oh. Mission success. Hooray. Yes, indeed. Much joy and jubilation was had. So maybe that was like the first part of the Chernobyl recovery, because I have to confess I'm not as well read on it as I probably should be. Perhaps the first part was sort of shutting down the reactor so it couldn't blow up any further, and then the next part was... Next stage of containment starting, additional liquidators and volunteers needed. Yeah, so maybe this was the first stage? Oh. They're real people. And you're the poor guy who got killed. Sorry about that, dude. An estimated 600,000 liquidators participated in the worst nuclear disaster in history, all performing incredibly important and daring duties. preventing an irreparable catastrophe which would have affected tens of millions of lives for generations. Hundreds of thousands have died or been disabled due to the radiation doses received, or nearly all suffering radiation complications. I didn't realise this. I mean, I knew it was based on the real story of Chernobyl, however, I didn't realise it was quite as realistic and as accurate to the reality of the situation as it is. And now I feel slightly bad for spending the vast majority of the video complaining about indie game design. But, yeah, the game is good. The game is good. My point about overloading the player with information rather than teaching them by doing in a small piecemeal style, that point stands. But overall, I think the game is actually very good. It does what it wants to do very well, with the exception of teaching the player how stuff works. Especially at the beginning, like if maybe the pieces of information about each room were in each room, and like the information was spread throughout different computers, that would make it a little bit easier. Because when you're reading the information after you've been through a room, it makes sense because the information's in context. When you're reading the information at the very beginning of the game, it doesn't really make any sense because you don't know what's ahead of you so far, and all this new information can't be fitted into the wider picture, as it were. And I guess there was an argument to be made about going away, trying a bit of it, coming back and reading more, as I did, but I've complained far too much about this, and I'm going to stop now, because this was Liquidators. I enjoyed it, mostly. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Look after each other, and good night.